everybody. So we are so excited. We are the Hallmarkies podcast, and we are here to talk about the latest Hallmark movies. And Amber has no voice today because I gave her my cold via the internet, and she is sick. And so we have a special replacement host, substitute that has come and kindly last minute agreed to join our podcast, and that is Ruth Hill, our very good friend.
Hello. Nice to be here. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I know Amber is very grateful when she texted me. I love Ruth so much.
Well, hey, it's feelings mutual.
Well, we really appreciate it. And so we had Winterfest. I mean, I think that, at least for me, I was sort of a little bit exhausted coming out of Countdown for Christmas. And so there was a side of me that was just kind of like, oh, couldn't they just take January off?
No.
But I have to say, I ended up, for the most part, I enjoyed two of them quite a bit. And one of them was and one I didn't like. But overall, I was entertained and I enjoyed it. So I'm glad that they did them in the end. It was nice. So, and you were saying you enjoyed, off camera, you said that you enjoyed this year more than last year for Winterfest.
That's right. Just in, I take it as a whole, not that all of the movies last year, and honestly, I couldn't remember all of the Winterfest films from last year. I think I remembered a couple of them, and I think for me, what I found a strength for the films this year is I felt like they had this whole theme of like winter sports going through all of them, and I think that was really smart to tie in with the Olympics.
Yeah,
and so I think that was a smart thing to have a theme. I think sometimes Hallmark just has they'll be like here's our summer films, and there's really nothing in common with any of them. And I understand there's different reasons for that sometimes, but I did like the theme. I thought that was a smart idea.
Yeah, and I think actually being up in, all of these were filmed at Whistler, pretty much, I guess, except for Frozen in Love. And I think that it just gave it some certain degree of energy, being in the mountains with real snow, and it was just kind of nice.
Right.
The first one was called Love on the Slopes. And our little summary is: Alex, a copy editor from New York, is sent to an extreme sports outpost to write a story for a travel writing competition. Cole, a sports enthusiast, reluctantly agrees to be Alex's guide as she faces her fears. I think that the strongest part of this movie is the writer, in my opinion. I feel like Kirsten Hansen, this is her first script. Yeah, I was looking online, and her IMDb, it said that she was in development for a long time with Hallmark. And so this was her first script. She's been super cute on Twitter and everything. And she was just very genuinely very excited. And I think especially like the first half of it, I really thought the writing was strong. And when I was 27, I kind of had one of those moments in life that just change your life. And I realized I was just so unhappy. I needed to break from corporate America, needed to quit my job. And it was completely terrifying because I was going to graduate school at the time. I wouldn't have insurance. I wouldn't have nothing to fall back on, but I was so unhappy. And so I really related to the portion of this movie where they were talking about how, like, all of a sudden you become a bystander in your life and you look back and you're like, how did this happen? And that was how I felt. I mean, it was like all of a sudden I'd been in this job I hated for 3 years and I didn't even know kind of how it happened. It wasn't the plan. Some good dialogue there, and her kind of trying to take on this new challenge and stuff. And I don't know, what were your sort of thoughts about that?
Well, I agree with you on that. As far as Kirsten, I've been a huge fan of hers since she's one of the writers for Chesapeake Shores. That's where I first discovered her. And to watch her, she has been so incredibly supportive of anything I've done, if I ever reach out to her for an interview. So it's like, this was a really cool thing to see her bring this movie to life. And I really enjoyed the whole thing about not being a warrior, not a worrier.
Yeah.
I really, really liked that. I thought that was like a really cool line. And I was really able to connect with it because it's all about facing your fears, stepping out and doing it, even though you might be terrified, and just going ahead and going for it, even if people think you're crazy. And of course you have the lovely boyfriend that comes and does that unbelievable, I'm gonna propose to you now right here.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, because I have some issues with that, but it starred Katrina Bowden, and this was her Hallmark debut, I believe.
Yep, it was.
And she was famous for being on a role in 30 Rock. I've never really been a 30 Rock fan, but I guess a lot of people knew her from that. And then also Thomas Bowden.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce the French name. But anyway, I guess it was his Hallmark debut, I think.
Yes, that's my understanding.
He was in The Spirit of Christmas with Jen Lilly, which is cute, and loves Last Resort with Jesse Hutch. But neither of those were for Hallmark.
Right.
And but he is a handsome fellow. He was very good looking.
Yep, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pleasant. I enjoyed seeing it.
Right.
And
yeah.
I mean, you kind of have to accept a bunch of contrivances, like with any of these movies, in order to sort of buy that, like, first of all, her employer is going to pay for all this expensive, trip.
Right.
And that, and the whole, like, conflict of, like, oh, is she going to write the article or she's not going to write the article is a little silly, but whatever. And also that he just, like, happens to have, like, all this free time available to train her, I guess, a drop of that, which is kind of funny. Yeah. But I didn't care. It worked. So let's talk about our friend Anthony Konecki.
Yeah.
So he is the wrong guy in this. And it's always risky when Hallmark Channel makes the wrong guy likable, and doesn't do the, like, Casey Manderson over the top ridiculous villain kind of wrong guy. He was pretty, like, he tried harder and was more romantic than I would say about 60% of the leads in the Christmas movies.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
What did he do that was so terrible? Like, he wanted her to go to the Berkshires, where he had planned it, like, to propose. He basically knew who she was at that moment, Like, and then she changed.
Yeah.
And, like, fairly quickly, like, he shouldn't be expected to, like, accept this completely new girlfriend in, like, a week.
Yeah.
And he, does the sleigh ride, and he comes and visits her as a surprise. And of course, we are supposed to not like him because he's not the lead guy. Right. But I really didn't see anything that was, like, he was nice. Like, I really didn't see anything that was a problem. It was kind of a similar movie to me, and this was way worse, but as far as this factor was the movie Autumn Dreams. Mm-hmm. The other guy, the wrong guy in that one, is so nice.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, Jill Wagner, you're being really mean. Like, this poor guy is just, like, waited for you for, like, 4 years. He's super nice. And so I felt like watching Anthony Konecki, I was like, I feel like I'm turning into Amber. I care about this, like, side character way too much.
Right. But, yes, I understand what you're saying, but I thought what was telling to me, actually, and I remember Kirsten even responded to this, is how quickly he proposes, and then she turns him down, and it's like it almost didn't even bother him. It was almost like there was there was like a disconnect that went on. I think because, now I could be wrong, but from my experience, and this is just from where I am.
Yeah.
I know that there is this thing that happens where you think, okay, this is the guy that I've been with all this time. And and this is the life that I've known, and I'm just going to, this is where I am. I don't even think about being trapped or anything. There's no other option. So this is where I am. And that's where she was.
Yeah.
Then she got put into this completely new environment where she was able to come out and really be who she was. And she realized who I was before was not really who I was. I was being safe. That was kind of, she was in the safe life before.
Yeah.
I don't have to go and try anything. This is safe. Everything's planned out for me. I know what's expected. And so I think that when she realized who she was, it was like there was no real connection. At least I saw, I see what you're saying, but I think I could sense that there was just no connection once he was asking her to marry him. The connection had been lost because she was already coming out and being who she was.
Yeah.
And
I can see that. And that, that she had this whole new like world open to her, and right. he was still in the same place, which you can't really fault him that much, but
right.
But yeah, I mean, I did tweet out, I said, I feel like the only reason we've been given to not pick Anthony Konecki is that his name is Barton.
Yeah, well.
Like they gave him a putsy name.
Right. Well, maybe they could go back and they could do a sequel where he gets the girl.
Yeah, that's what they should do. They should go back and he can take a girl to the Berkshires and
Right.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah. I hear you. At least we got to see. We had two nice guys, and sometimes Hallmark does do that. They do try to change things up so that the guy is not always a jerk.
Right. Yeah, it's a risky endeavor.
Yes.
But yeah, it wasn't like a deal breaker for me. That was just my only like.
Right.
But it was really fun. I think her going on these various extreme sport things, and it made Whistler look so beautiful. They're pretending it's Colorado, but it was not.
Yeah. Right.
Which one did you like the best? Which one looked the most fun?
I was gonna say bungee jumping, probably.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those things that it absolutely would scare me to death. I mean, to think about doing it, but I would love to have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
Because I love roller coasters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A lot of people wouldn't think of me as being that adventuresome, but I actually can be. And so I would like to try. I wouldn't like to try it where the falls are right there. I wouldn't want to go quite that far. Probably, I wouldn't want it to be the water or something like that necessarily. At least to begin with, I wouldn't want that to be the first time. I think I have to work up to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have done the tubing, and so that's super fun.
Oh yeah, that is.
But yeah, I mean, in the zip line, I think that would be fun. It was really cute. Like, I was getting a little irritated. I'm like, just read the stupid letter. Like, this conflict, come on.
Right.
But yeah, the ending was super cute with the kissing bungee jumping. That was pretty fun.
That was cute. I agree.
So yeah, I liked this one. I thought it was solid, and so I would give this. I got Amber's crowns, so I'm just gonna give hers, and then I will give mine. We basically have the same score because she does. I just do like on the 5s, and she does it more exact. Anyway, she gave it a 3.8. I gave it a 4.
Okay.
So pretty high from both of us. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Because like a 3 is like average.
Right.
So 3.8 and 4 is pretty good.
Yeah.
I've currently seen 8 Hallmark movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes some that we'll cover at a later date. On the Slopes came in actually at number 4 on my ranking. because I have Warren H. Mysteries at 3, and then Once Upon a Winter's Date at 2, and I'll save the number 1 for later. So, but that's pretty high for me. I have an Aurora Teagarden at 5. The Emma Fielding is at 7. So. Frozen in Love was our next film. And the summary was, when struggling bookstore owner Mary and the bad boy of professional hockey, Adam, are teamed together to help facilitate an image makeover for the other, they soon realize that opposites attract, and they find themselves unexpectedly frozen in love. So this stars Rachel Lee Cook, who of course has been in the Vineyard movies and then some other things. And I guess for this, she actually came up with the story. It was like her idea. And have you interviewed her?
I interviewed her. But actually, it would have been for her very first Hallmark movie.
That was the one where she was the intern, right?
Yes.
Okay, I like that one.
And then she really tried to get the interview back to me. She really did try to make an effort. I think that she was so, she had so much going on with that movie, and then the TCA is happening, and I think she had a whole lot of stuff going on.
Sure.
And so she has not gotten it back to me. I believe that I will be hearing back from her. I'm kind of wondering if maybe it'll be, but the next Vineyard movie, we might be able to make connection. But she wasn't mean about it. So I mean, she is incredibly busy, and I don't know how she keeps up with her schedule. I know that she is very, very busy because she's got family and up with her professional career. So,
well, it was really cute though to see how excited she was, and she was saying on Twitter, like, I can't believe my idea is there. It's you could tell it was really because sometimes I think people think that they just pump these things out and nobody cares about them. Nobody And that's it can be the case, but it's not always the case.
Right. Oh yeah.
So I thought she was cute in this. I think this is an extreme nitpick, but I know they were trying to make her look like all mousy and kind of bookish, but I thought they could have made her a little, I thought some of the styling choices were a little weird. It looked like I don't know if she had a wig on, but having her hair parted right in the middle and just the color of her hair. I don't know. It wouldn't have been my choice, but she is fine and very pretty. Right. I don't know. I would have styled her a little differently, if that's fair.
I can see your point. I hadn't even thought about that because I will admit I rarely look at the fashion unless I absolutely detest it.
Yeah.
There are those moments where it's you really put them in that, and not just Hallmark. I'm talking about just in general.
Is this bookstore owner, and was it supposed to be a used bookstore? Because all the books looked really old to me.
I do not know for sure, but I'm assuming that she was selling more vintage type books.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, and so vintage books would be used, but it would be ones that were,
because even that quilting book looked kind of old.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe there were sections where they did offer newer books, because actually a lot of times vintage bookstores, I think, usually often sell both. They usually have this is the new section, here's the new stuff. But I don't think they really explained that, come to think of it. It was not explained.
Yeah. Ends up, she meets with this publicist friend of hers because she's trying to save the store, which has been bequeathed to her from her parents, and her brother works there at the store. I liked her brother; he was pretty funny.
Yeah, Madison Smith, he's awesome.
Yeah.
That is his best. That is honestly, I think, his best role to date, from what I've seen.
Yeah, he was good, and. This publicist friend suggests that she start working with this hockey player who is the bad boy of hockey, who's been kicked off the team because of his bad behavior. And this is Niall Matter. And
whoa. It's Niall Mater.
Oh, is it? Okay, Niall Mater. They concoct this scheme that he's going to help them promote this party and promote the store, and she's going to help him improve his image or whatever. And so they start working together, and they'd had this. I did really like the initial interaction with the coffee. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And the quilting book. That was pretty good. Pretty good, because they don't have coffee there, which they probably should have. Yeah. She probably, right. Come on. Right. Say, I think this movie would have worked better for me if I hadn't seen so many of these save the store, save the farm, save the theater, save the whatever. Like, I've reached my, like, how can we not have a single fake fiance movie? And we've literally had probably, I don't know, I feel like we've had at least a dozen of these kind of like, I feel like we've had at least a dozen Save the Farm movies and at least a dozen Fall in Love with High School Boyfriend, City Girl Gets Reformed movies. And it's like, let's go back to some of those old tropes that we haven't had. Like, why don't we have a fake fiance? Why don't we have, like, I don't know, like, let's embrace some of those more silly tropes again. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they're just trying to, like, make it things people can relate to or something like that. But I don't know. That was a big factor for me in enjoying this movie. I just feel like, I've just seen everything so much. And I just didn't understand this party was really going to help them in any kind of way. You know, like, I would love for one of these Save the Farm kind of stories for, like, the thing I feel like, especially something like this, is trying to, like, feed off of You've Got Mail. But in You've Got Mail, they close the store. And she has to figure out a whole new life and what she's going to do. And all the, like, protests and parties and whatever don't help her to keep the store. And that makes it interesting, and that makes you invested in the character. And so I would like them, if they are going to do this plot line, like, have the guts to, like, actually close the store.
I guess I hadn't even thought about that. And I'll admit that lots of times where I get some of my ratings is that I do watch these movies with my mom. So we watch them together, and I listen to what she has to say, because she's not a really harsh critic, but she is definitely a harsher critic than I am. And she has no connection to the characters, of course.
Right.
So that's always a big thing, unless there's been, for some reason, someone that I've really connected with and I've told her a lot about, because she usually hears all my stories. And,
sure.
And so I think that when she likes the movie and really enjoys the interaction, the characters, then I think, okay, it's not just me. I'm not the only one who liked it. It's not. I
didn't hate it. That was my barrier.
Well, and for me, it's interesting to hear, and I actually do see what you're saying. I hadn't really thought about that. For me, what I think I liked about it is that Niall's character was pushed some boundaries, I thought, because usually that he was really this, he was really a bad boy. You don't always get that. They usually water the bad boys down so that it's like, oh, he hasn't really done anything bad. But here he was, and he's even teaching the little boy who is so cute. I got to talk with that little boy. He's only 4 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. the cutest. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but
that's adorable.
Oh yeah. But even watching them interact with the little boy, and then watching him say, well, what do? We say boo when the other team scores. And I'm thinking that sometimes Hallmark wouldn't even say that. They wouldn't want it, because that's almost teaching bad sportsmanship in one way.
Oh yeah.
So
I can see what you're saying.
Publicist, I thought that the actress that played her was just fantastic. It was great because she's also of Asian heritage. I got to talk with her.
Yeah, and she's beautiful. They could definitely use her again. Right. I liked that interview. I read that one. That was good. Yeah. She seemed really cool, and and I liked his ex-girlfriend was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, Yeah, well, and Tammy Gillis, she almost always gets the the girl that doesn't get the guy. I hope one day that they feature her in a role where she gets the guy, because she's always playing that, and she's always playing that part that she's not nice. She plays that part so well, though. Oh,
she's the Marcus Rosner of women.
Yes. Well, what I really hope is that she and her husband get to make a movie together. That's what we're always pushing for that.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, that was cute. And I thought that her skating and trying to learn hockey was cute.
Yeah.
She's trying to learn it from a book, and that was fun.
Right.
And I liked all the stuff about podcasts. Of course I did. Yeah. But that was great.
Right.
Set it up. And I think that the audio quality on that podcast would probably be very terrible. I probably would not want to listen to it, but I didn't care. I enjoyed it. That was funny to me.
Right.
And especially after the last movie that mentioned podcasts was Magical Christmas Ornaments, and that movie hated podcasters.
Oh.
They were like, ooh, he runs a podcast. It was very suspect. This 3.5 crowns. Mm-hmm. So still a positive score. And Amber gave it 3.2. So we were pretty close.
Okay, pretty close
on it. Pretty close on it. And I think if I watched it with just a little separation, I might, I don't know, maybe even feel more positive about it. So I don't know. But that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Well, and I've had that happen with movies before where I didn't really like the movie the first time I saw it. I mean, a perfect example of that is I wasn't too sure when I first watched Christmas Detour what I thought of it.
Yeah,
when I first watched it. And then, but there were things but I had there's so many people in there that I connected with, and I thought, I'm going to watch this one again. And now it's like, I can't. It's like whenever it's on, I find myself watching it.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, when we did our top 12 Christmas, it was the first podcast we ever did with Hallmark, me and Amber. Yeah. I was just going off of a lot of memory. I didn't have a chance to rewatch a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And I bitterly regret not putting Christmas Detour on my list.
I know.
It's definitely one of my favorites for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, now it has become, one of those favorites. But at first I was kind of like, I liked it, but I wasn't sure how strongly I liked it. And so sometimes, and some of it is, I'll be honest, some of it is that I'm tweeting like crazy.
Uh-huh.
And so sometimes I will miss things.
Yeah.
And I'll have to go, like my mom will say, did you see what happened? No, I was tweeting. And so I have to rewind it back and see what I missed.
Yeah, the curse of the tweeter. In my ranking at number 6 out of 8. Mm-hmm. So just below Aurora Teagarden and above the Emma Fielding.
Right.
We have is One Winter Weekend. And everybody who listens to this podcast knows that I'm not that big a Taylor Cole fan.
Right.
I don't know. She's just not my favorite actress.
Right.
And as far as her roles. But I have to say, this was good. Yep. This is a good movie. Yep. And she did a good job. And so maybe I'm coming around on Taylor Cole. Who knows? But this was written by the writer of Swedish Christmas, Irene Dobson, I think is her name. Irene? I don't know. And the show Baby Daddy, and I think this is much better than either of those, in my opinion. I think this is a big step up from Swedish Christmas, personally. Yeah. And you have this Taylor playing this, and I have to say, I also went into this with very low expectations because I thought the trailer or promo or whatever was very cringy. Mm-hmm. And I was so disappointed because when they first put out the marketing, it looked like this was going to be a movie for Hallmark Channel that had a lead, person of color lead couple. I was like, yes, this would be so exciting. And they, Movies and Mysteries is doing one, and then Hallmark Channel would be so cool. And so then when I found out that it was Taylor Cole, I was like, oh.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
But so I was going into it with those expectations. But anyway, so Taylor Cole, she is definitely a Hall star, of course. She's been in a ton of movies.
Right.
And Christmas Festival of Ice and My Summer Prince, which she was in with Jack Turner. And I feel like a lot of times that it takes 2 movies for a couple to really gel. You know, like their first movie will be not that great, and then the second movie will be really good. Like I felt that way actually with Andrew Walker and Nikki DeLoach, that I just felt like their chemistry was a lot stronger in The Perfect Catch versus the Christmas Dream, or I can't remember what one called. Anyway, and so I don't know, it just seems like that's sometimes the case. And so I think that's definitely the case here, because I'm not a big fan of My Summer Prince. I didn't really like it, but I thought they were way, way better and had way more chemistry in this. Yeah.
And actually, I agree with you completely with what you said. When My Summer Prince came out, I had interviewed both the writer, who was new to Hallmark, and the director wasn't, but I had interviewed them both, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna like this movie really, really well, and I'm gonna support it. And I was a little bit disappointed. That is, I honestly was. Not where I thought it was horrible, but I've not always been a big Taylor Cole fan either. People will rave about her, and I'll think, it's kind of, but I even put this on Facebook after this movie. What I think that I love is that, it's One Winter Weekend. Isn't that the name of the movie?
Yeah. Oh, did I not say that? Yeah, One Winter Weekend.
You did. I was trying to make sure I was saying it right.
Yeah.
What I liked about One Winter Weekend is that her character was much stronger. In fact, my mom and I had a discussion about this, and I said, so often I want to like Taylor Cole in these Hallmark movies, but I don't like her, and I don't know why. And it's not her that I don't like, but it's that her character is often really wishy-washy. I thought in My Summer Prince, her character was rather wishy-washy. I just kind of not very strong. Didn't really seem like she could stand up for herself that much. I didn't. And I've seen her in other roles like that. I mean, that's why Christmas Festival of Ice, I didn't think worked that well for her, because again, it was kind of a character that didn't seem very strong. As my mom explained it, and I think she had a really good point, because we discussed it after the movie, is that Taylor Cole seems to have a very strong presence on screen, and she seems to be a very strong. She's not just this tiny petite little woman like some of the Hallmark stars are.
Sure. And
so to see her in One Winter Weekend, she was playing a strong woman with opinions, and she was she basically knew who she was. And she was not afraid to let that come across.
Yeah, I think that you're right, because the one that I also like her in, I think it's Appetite for Love.
I was gonna say it. Yep, I was agreeing with you 100%. That was the other one.
Because I don't know how old Taylor Cole is, but she's in her 30s, I think, and she just has sort of a mature feel about her. And so when she tries to play the ingenues, the young ingenues, like in My Summer Prince, it just doesn't quite work. And whereas when she plays a more sort of mature character, like you're saying, somebody who's sort of confident in who they are, like in Appetite for Love, like in this, I think it works much better than, because there's sometimes when I feel like she should be playing the best friend versus playing the lead. And and so anyway, but I was happy for her. I really liked her in this. Like so that's saying a lot, like for me, you know. I really did. So good job. It's a recently dumped travel writer goes on a ski getaway with her best friend, and they find themselves double booked with 2 eligible men. When they are snowed in, love ensues, as it always does. And this is definitely another trope that we saw a little bit, but not as much as the Save the Barn. Is the double. And my favorite of all time of this trope is The Cabin. Have you ever seen that one? with Leah Thompson.
Oh yes, okay,
That
yes.
one is so good. I love that one. But because it's all in like Scotland, and I just love that one.
Right, yes, right. Uh-huh.
But anyway, this one, obviously we saw it in Christmas Getaway very recently, and these people just can't figure out their booking systems.
I know.
But this movie just really worked because, like I said, there was great chemistry between her and Jack Turner, who I can't even remember what was his. He works for. He's like a CEO, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's
Whole characters on this like dating fast because of this rejection at the beginning of the movie, and that all worked. I thought. Did you like that?
Yes, I absolutely did. Yeah.
Also, I have to say that Amber did such a good job live tweeting this one, and my favorite of hers was she took a picture of the Jack Turner character and said that I liked it. She says that she said it looks like I found somebody for hot dudes reading. Twitter hot dudes reading. I thought that was really funny. So good job, Amber. That was hilarious, and he was quite the reader.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
Yeah. And anyway, so we had her best friend, played by Rukia. Do you know how to pronounce her name? Rukia?
Yep, Rukia, yep.
Yay. Okay. Rukia Bernard. And she's in Christmas in Evergreen and in Dashing Through the Snow, Just the Way You Are, Gourmet Detective. So she's been in a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
And then his friend, Deshwain.
I think that's the way it's pronounced.
This is his Hallmark debut,
right?
I think. And anyway, so I love them so much. Like, not just because they're African American, which was so cool and exciting, but because they were so cute and adorable. I really like them.
Yes,
and
they were.
And her story had like real heart and meat to it. Like, it's one of the most like compelling secondary stories that I can think of in a long time in a Hallmark movie, because she is just like having to answer all of these calls, and she's just the assistant to this boss, and the boss just like relies on her, but she lacks she's doing all these interviews for this job that she should have, but she lacks the confidence to say like, I should have this job. And I thought that really worked. I really liked that whole story with them. And like when he fixes her wrist, it was so cute.
Yes.
It was adorable.
Yeah, I think that I agreed with a lot of people, and my mom agreed too. I saw many people, we were tweeting out that it was like you really had 4 leads, because in many ways, the secondary characters received so much great material. You got to know their stories so much that, yes, okay, so Taylor and Jack are the stars, but you almost had these 4 leads. I mean, the stories were so interconnected. You could tell they must have enjoyed each other's company. All the actors must have gotten along and just had a blast, because they were so easy with each other. It was so funny. I loved watching that scene when Jack's the only one doing work, and they're all sitting around like watching Jack's character do all this work. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was.
They're all sitting around. Yeah, we'll just watch you do the work. And I think, and I just thought there were so many great parts and I thought it would be so great to you could see that secondary character easily. Eventually, a characters very similar to that, or maybe even those same characters, becoming the absolute leads of the.
I hope that Hallmark is doing that. These two should be in a movie. I'm not saying this should be a sequel. Right. I would rather actually have them have their own full movie. But they had such chemistry. They were so cute. And I think it needs to happen. Amber gave this 3.5 crowns.
Okay.
And I give this 4 crowns. It was really good. Maybe even 4.5, depending. It's hard this early, I know I'm right in between. I really liked it. And I thought that Taylor's dress was beautiful. They did a very good job with that. and she looked beautiful for the date. He looked very handsome for the date. Yeah. It just all worked. It was really fun. But for right now, I give it 4 crowns, and I have it at number 1 right now in my ranking.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. And then the next one I have after that is Once Upon a Winter's Date. The last one for Winterfest is Winter's Dream. And this is Dean Cain and Christy Swanson. And it's a former pro skier, Kat, is asked to coach a younger skier named Anna and finds love with the girl's widowed father, Ty. And I have to say, certain directors just aren't for me, because I really haven't liked any of his movies. I didn't like Engaging Father Christmas. I didn't like Falling for Vermont. I didn't like While You Were Dating. I didn't like The December Bride. I didn't like Tulips in Spring.
Oh, okay. So you haven't liked it. Okay.
Yeah, the only one that I've liked of his was The Mistletoe Promise. That I really liked.
Okay.
But I don't know. Maybe just a certain person's style just doesn't gel with me. I didn't care for this movie. I thought it was very boring. I just wasn't drawn into the couple. I didn't think they had chemistry. I didn't think the conflict was interesting. Like, they kept trying to set this conflict between her and this other coach, but like, it just never really went anywhere. It wasn't compelling to me. It wasn't interesting. And I felt like it was also confusing. Like, 1 minute, this young girl was like this huge, amazing prospect of skiing. But then other minutes, I felt like she was teaching her really basic stuff. I'm like, is she like just learning how to do turns, or is she this great hot prospect of skiing? Because she's definitely old enough that like she would be like further along, I think, if she's this hot prospect. And I don't know, like, maybe that's a nitpick, but it's just, that was the main conflict of the story. And I don't know, I didn't like it. I'm afraid. And I was hoping I would like it, because I like Christy Swanson and I like Dean Cain. Christy Swanson's been in a couple of these Hallmark movies. She of course was Buffy. I was like, how can a movie with Buffy and Superman not be like more fun? But and she was better, I think, than Dean Cain. But I thought Dean Cain was just phoning it in. He seemed bored to me. He didn't seem invested. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but I don't know. I just didn't like it. Yeah. So what did you like? Because I know you liked it. What did you like about it?
Yeah. Well, I guess I have a completely different viewpoint.
Yeah, then that's good. That's why we do the podcast.
Right. I think, let's see. I happen to like David Winning, and that's just me.
Sure.
I'm curious. Have you watched any of Van Helsing? Have you watched that show on Sci-Fi?
I never have. No.
Oh, okay, because he that's more of his mainstream stuff that he directs. Because he does do mainstream stuff that he directs, and that's a show that I haven't seen any of the shows that he's directed, but it is. Actually, Rukia has a major part in Van Helsing as well. If you like Rukia, she's got a big part.
Cool.
And there are some people you will recognize that you've seen in other things, and it's so it'd be interesting to know if you watched some of the stuff that he's directed for them as opposed to Hallmark. If it's just that you don't like it, that you're not as keen on the Hallmark stuff, but it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, that would be interesting for sure.
For me, this one was a lot of fun. I don't know if it is. I don't know. Maybe it's my age. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe it's the fact that I have a daughter. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's the fact that I'm a single parent. I don't know if any of that figures into it. I know sometimes those things do.
Sure. Yeah. We can't help but have our life impact or what we what we're drawn to.
For me, I thoroughly enjoyed all the interactions between Christy Swanson and Dean Cain. usually I see Dean Cain playing a lot of more dramatic type roles, and this one he was I thought was this goofy single dad, and so I found that entertaining. I also enjoyed Lucy Guest. She played the other ski instructor, the one that was kind of mean at first. I really enjoyed her. She's one that again that I've kind of watched. I interviewed her before she was even on Hallmark, and now she's become like a Hallmark favorite for the supporting cast.
Yeah, she was just on. Wasn't she in Mistletoe Inn?
I think that's right. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think she's been in so many. She was also in Eat, Play, Love. That was.
Oh yeah. You're right.
Yeah. So I enjoyed watching her character, and I liked how they resolved her character, because sometimes in Hallmark you get the main character, and they never resolve. For example, if you've seen Love on Ice, I don't know if you've seen Love on Ice, which I'm not saying, I know a lot of people don't like that movie, and that's fine. But Kate Drummond plays the other coach, and you never really see her resolve. She plays like mean from the beginning, and she's still mean at the end. Right. And so it was.
That's a good point. It's nice, Aaron, to have Aaron Buchholz. I wish they'd give him more to do, because I thought he was fun.
I know. I was going to say the same thing. I would like to have seen an expanded part for him as well. I agree with you, because he wasn't on there nearly as much as I thought he would be. I was hoping he'd have a bigger part. I agree with you on that. I really enjoyed the ending of the film. I thought that was really cool at the end, because Hallmark doesn't usually have some big, a lot of fancy things like that at the end. You know,
the fireworks.
And the whole the light parade coming down the mountain.
Yeah,
and all
that was cool.
Stuff. Booth is the executive producer. She's on Signed, Sealed, Delivered. She plays Shane on Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and she was. And actually, it was so cool to see. She had one moment where towards the beginning, where she walked on with the dog. And so we were all watching for it, and I looked, and I was like, there she is, I saw her. So I was like, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, it was. And then her daughter, actually, there were a couple scenes that her daughter, actually, Kristen Booth's daughter, was like on camera a couple times, and you had to watch for her. So she was like this little girl that you'd see, because their daughter's 5. And it was not something that resonated with everybody, which I know some people didn't, because I've read the comments. You're not the only one who didn't care for it, and I think that's going to happen.
Sure.
But he is taking that very seriously, because he wants to do more with Hallmark. This was like the first thing. And as we know, the first time that somebody ever writes something, it does not always doesn't always come off as well as you might want it to. And so I think that his hope is that in the future that there will be more chances to do them more, shall I say.
Yeah. Hey, if I can like a Taylor Cole movie, then he should have all hope.
Right.
All hope.
Right. Well, and I think that's and so I think it's like there's nothing wrong with having the difference of opinion. It's good to hear your views, because I think I can see it through your eyes, shall I say. I can see that maybe in a different position I might be looking at it a little differently.
Yeah.
I'm just like the people that, you mentioned how high you've marked the Morning Show Murders. There are people who absolutely hated that movie.
Yeah, all I care about is that people are honest. When I did over on my other channel, I reviewed the whole Disney canon, and there were people that wanted me to love every single Disney movie. And I'm like, that's not being a good fan. That's being a bad fan. If I'm telling Disney that this movie is good and I don't really think it's good, then I'm not helping Disney to be any better.
Right.
I'm not being honest with the people watching my program, and I'm not, like, what's the point? What's the point of talking about it and doing it if you're not going to be honest? And It's not that you have to be mean, and you should try to give some constructive reasons why it didn't work for you. But you don't want to just be some troll. It's like, it was the worst thing ever.
Right, exactly.
But anyway, so yeah, I gave this one 2 crowns. It just didn't work for me. Amber gave it 2.9. so she's a little higher. They make a movie every weekend. There's going to be some that you like and some that you don't like as much.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So speaking of next week or this next upcoming weekend, we have My Secret Valentine.
Yes.
So that's pretty exciting. And this has a new writer, Carrie Friedel is her name.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of exciting. And it has Andrew Walker and Lacey Chabert, which is their first time together.
Yep.
And on the little preview, Andrew Walker, he was so funny. He's like, I love all my co-stars. I love them all. Yeah. Right. But Lacey was amazing.
Right. And you know, as I told you earlier, I talked with Andrew Walker today. We had a good. We talked for 70 minutes or something like that. I think if I remember right, something like that. And we talked a lot about his working with Lacey Chabert. So and he had very similar things that he said about her, and I'll be getting that interview up before the movie premieres on Saturday.
Yeah.
Probably going to be one of my all-time favorite interviews, just because of the way that it all came together, and the subjects that we touched on that I didn't even plan on talking about, and all the amazing things that Andrew himself is involved in. It is unbelievable, and he was very candid in this. I felt very candid in this.
Well, I'm really excited. I think all three of these Valentine's movies look pretty strong.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about all of them. And this one looks cute. My only worry about this movie is that there will be too much about the wine. Because I didn't like Summer in the Vineyard. I thought that was very boring. I do not care about when the wine is ready and if the wine is done and making wine. And that was very boring to me. And I just hope that they don't, if it's another sort of, if this is a case of Save the Vineyard, that would be very boring to me. So I hope it's more about the secret relationship.
It has both components, is my understanding. I'm not going to lie and tell you that there's nothing about the winery. Because Andrew
I don't mind some, but you know what I mean.
Andrew was very excited about the winery stuff,
extremely
excited about it, and said that he thought that there was even more stuff about the winery and the terminology and everything than there usually, and a lot that was shot inside the winery. I'm just telling you that's what
I know.
He was very excited about the winery stuff, but then again, understand that he has a juice business. His wife owns a juice business, and so for him, he was absolutely fascinated, and he loved. And it's evidently where they shot it is very historic. It's a very because they shot it way up in Ontario, and I mean way up in Ontario. So.
Well, yeah. So we'll see. I certainly always go into things with an open mind, and
just know that yes, there is going to be stuff about the winery. That is a component, but I don't think that is the main component.
Okay.
I think that that's the backdrop. I mean, I can't guarantee it, but I will say that I had one of the people that work for Hallmark. She told me today that he was really cute in My Secret Valentine. That he was very cute.
I'm really excited about all this Secret Valentine part. I think that sounds really cute. We'll look forward to that. And so then we have on Sunday, you all want to make sure on your calendars, we have the Kitten Bowl on Sunday, which will be very fun.
Yes, Kitten Bowl is fun.
Who needs the Super Bowl when you have the Kitten Bowl?
This is true. I've got the Kitten Bowl set to record. I don't have the Super Bowl set to record. I don't know what that says about me, but I'm. It's kind of a take it or leave it thing.
I'm the same. Super Bowl is usually really boring, and so let's check out the Kitten Bowl instead. I have it also on my DVR. Don't have the Super Bowl.
Hey, well, we have something we definitely agree on.
Yeah,
we found common ground.
Yeah. So next week we are going to be doing a special podcast. We are going to be talking non-Hallmark, but we're going to be talking the cutting edge, particularly the first movie, of course, but then also the sequels. So we're really excited about that. So that should be really fun. And then on Valentine's Day, we have a special podcast that's going to be coming where we have invited writer Greg McBride is going to be joining us, and we are going to be talking about all of our favorite classic romances. So it's going to be super fun.
You've got an excellent guest for that.
We're so excited. He's the best. So
he is fantastic.
So thank you so much for joining us, especially last minute. It was so nice of you, and I had such a fun time talking about these movies with you. I think it was, even though I had one I didn't like, it was, I think, a pretty successful month for Winterfest, and a successful month for Taylor Cole. So that's exciting.
That's probably the most exciting thing of all, is because I know how you feel about her. It's like, okay, that one actually turned you around, and all that, and probably even after just talking with you, I would probably even adjust my scores just a little bit, because I think you had
Oh, good.
I think that a couple of them wouldn't be 5s maybe now. They might be down around 4.5 range. So
okay, well,
it just takes being able to actually discuss it, because lots of times I don't get the opportunity to discuss it, and it's great to have. I think it's great to be able to discuss even opposing viewpoints. I think that's great, because it makes me think about things differently, and I can see the perspective rather than getting all upset and thinking that we have to yell. And it's like we don't need to be mean about it. We could just have an intelligent discussion.
Agreed. And thank you so much for doing that. And so where can people find you?
You can find me on my website is My Devotional Thoughts, and I'm sure you'll be able to get that link up there.
Yeah.
And then I am on Twitter and Instagram, and my username there is Ruth Hill 74. And then on Facebook, I've got My Devotional Thoughts. I'm also on there under my name. I mean, I've got lots. Honestly, if people are genuine Hallmark fans, and I mean, if they genuinely are Hallmark fans, I don't mind being sent a friendship request. If somebody who, so it doesn't bother me. I mean, if people find me on Facebook, that's fine. It's not like I'm not hiding.
Sure. So well, we'll have that all in here in the description section, and you can definitely check out all of Ruth's content. It's amazing. Such great interviews, and it's just great on Twitter, Instagram, everything. But you can follow us. You can follow Amber. She's usually here, Amber Brainwaves, on Twitter. You can follow me at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes and YouTube. And also I'm at Smiling LDS Girl on social media. You can follow the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod on Instagram, Twitter, iTunes, everything else. And also, if you guys have the Stardust app, go on and log on and put in your 20-second reactions to these movies after you finish watching them. Because we need to get more. I think I'm pretty much the only one who's logging their reactions. And it's really fun. It's a free little app, and you just record on your phone a 20-second response. And it would just be fun if we could get the Hallmarky community to kind of do that. So, and that way we could kind of see people's instantaneous responses to these films. So check that out. I'll put a link down to that also if you want to check it out with Stardust. And so, yeah, that's it. And thanks again. Really appreciate it. And we will definitely have you on again soon. And we'll look forward to tweeting together for the Valentine's movies.
That's right. All right. Going to Twitter jail again.
Yeah.
where I spend my weekends when you can't find me. It's because I'm in Twitter jail. So.
That's so funny. I love it. All right. Well, we will talk to you soon then.